All right, shalom, shalom, everybody. This your brothers from the Hopeful Elect coming at you again with another lesson, class, breakdown, discussion, video, whichever way you want to, like I said last night, slice the cake. This your brother Isaiah, brother Obadiah, and you got God is my help, the brother Azrael. Uh, you know, on the live today, just coming to give you all some wisdom and take a little bit of what you see in the world and kind of relate it to the Bible, kind of make things real life. So before we do any of that, the first thing we want to do is give all glory, praise, and honor be to the Most High God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. We want to say shalom to the people, the viewers, who's going to tune in on this live, right, while we're live, and who's going to add unto the word, right? We want to say shalom to the viewers who's going to view this live after it's over, once it's ended, right? And shalom just means peace. We want to say peace to those brothers out there putting in the work, laboring, making videos, doing classes, making lessons on the street corners, the highways and byways, waking up the lost sheep of the house of Israel, spreading the gospel of who the world calls Jesus Christ to the four corners of the earth, right? And we also want to say shalom to those sisters who are married to those men and are making the sacrifice to make sure their households are in order, right, while those men go out and labor and do their work. Shalom to the brothers who aren't married, but they're building themselves up in the spirit, to be able to receive a wife, and be a leader, a righteous leader. And shalom to the sisters who may not be married as of yet, but are building themselves up in the spirit to be a beautiful helpmeet unto their husbands, right? To create a beautiful union for not only yourselves, but also your children. Shalom to the brother Danan who joins the screen, right? And we also want to say again, shalom to each and every person, right, that has an ear to hear, right? Peace be unto you. So today's, I guess you could say, class or, lesson is just going into a little bit of intellectual conversation, right? Not so much political, because the topic of oppression in America is really nonpartisan, but it's one that needs to be had. And it can, I guess you could say political affiliations can shape your viewpoint, but that's not always 100% true. So this is not a partisan conversation, right? This is not to talk about Democrat or Republican, this is to talk about I guess you could say the unwant to talk about truth of, how blacks have been treated in this country, in America, right? So before we get into anything, right, of course, we want to start off with the Bible. So I'm going to share, let me share my screen first. Let me share my screen. Let's go to the Bible. Just waiting for my screen to load. Share screen. Right. So we're gonna start off. This is the book of Hosea. Matter of fact, let me click on it. Right. Let me click on it. So this is the first scripture that we're gonna read tonight to kind of set the stage of what you'll see in the video when we play it. Right. But if a brother wants to read this, go ahead and read Hosea 4 and 6.
This is the book of Hosea, chapter 4 and verse 6. My people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. Because thou hast rejected knowledge, I will also reject thee, that thou shalt be no priest to me. Seeing thou hast forgotten the law of thy God, I will also forget thy children.
Right. So, long story short, man, again, we didn't want to receive the knowledge of the Lord, right? How can I further prove that? Let's go to the book of Isaiah, chapter 30. And let's start at verse number 1. Brother Obadiah, could you read verse number 1, right? And then we're going to read verse 2, and then we're going to jump down to verse number 7.
Isaiah chapter 30 and verse 1. Woe to the rebellious children, says the Lord, that take counsel, but not of me, and that cover what they covering, but not of my spirit, that they may add sin to sin. You said jump down.
You can read verse 2.
Verse 2. They walk to go down into Egypt, and have not asked at my mouth, to strengthen themselves in the strength of Pharaoh, and to trust in the shadow of Egypt.
So the brother Azrael last Sabbath went here at camp to kind of shed light on how even in today's time, right? When you read verse 2, that walk to go down into Egypt, in today's time, our people are still walking to go down into unfamiliar territory, or I guess you could say the oppressor's place, right? And they're still wanting to put trust in the powers that be, right? We don't inquire at the mouth of the Most High God. We inquire at the mouth of who we see in this world, your politicians, your leaderships, right? And that's what the brother Azrael brought out. I wanted to follow the same line of, I guess you could say, understanding, because it's very important to know that, again, we're destroyed by lack of knowledge because we choose to be, you know? But when you watch this video, some would watch the beginning of this and clip everything we just said and kind of use it to their benefit, right? So it's always, you know, I guess you could say a two-way street, right? You can look at the front of the bottle, somebody can look at the back of the bottle, but it's the same bottle. You can see it from this point of view, I can see it from this point of view, but we're talking about the same subject. And what I'm speaking on right now is how, again, our people have chosen to take the route of iniquity in the eyes of the Most High. That has put us in situations to be oppressed, right? Let's keep reading. We can start at verse number 9. Let's start at verse 9.
Verse 9, that this is a rebellious people, lying children, children that would not hear the law of the Lord, which say to the seers, see not, and to the prophets, prophesy not unto us right things, speak unto us smooth things, prophesy deceit.
Right. Listen, our people choose to want to hear these, I guess you could say, these false things, these vain things, these things that profit nothing, right? These things that are considered as gifts, and that ultimately when we receive them, they destroy our hearts, right? We talked a little bit about that last night, which leads us to the next precept. This is why it's important to know the law of God. This is why it's important to inquire at the mouth of God, because when you do, you learn how to conduct yourselves and carry yourselves. Even in the land of your oppression, you could still be a righteous servant, right? And being righteous is just upholding the law, statutes, and commandments. But going back to Hosea 4 and 6, because our people forgot the law, turned their back on the law, right? We were destroyed because we don't have the knowledge of what God gave us to be that great nation, like we spoke about last night on live, right? But Brother Azrael, if you have an opportunity, could you read Deuteronomy 16 and 19?
Deuteronomy 16 and 19. Thou shalt not wrest judgment, thou shalt not respect persons, neither take a gift, for a gift doth blind the eyes of the wise and pervert the words of the righteous.
So follow us when we say that, when we read this in the law of God and we see how the gifts that the land of America has given so-called Negroes has destroyed them more than it's helped them, we will understand why the Lord told the children of Israel not to take a gift in the first place, right? Because again, we inquire, instead of going to inquire at the mouth of the Most High God, we go to the leaders of the community. We go to the athletes of the community. We go to the celebrities, right? We're not going to the prophets of old, right? We're not going to the elders of old, of antiquity, right? And that's where we should go to understand the opportunities that were given to us or the lack thereof in this land, right? Why is that important? Because again, let's go back to the very first precept we read. Oops, Salaki. Let's go back to the very first precept we read. Let's read this one more time.
Hosea.
Says, my people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. Because thou hast rejected knowledge, I will also reject thee, that thou be no priest to me, seeing thou hast forgotten the law of thy God. I will also forget thy children.
Again, when you read the Bible, man, Israelites are not crazy, right? For thinking and believing that we are the children, we are the people of the book, because the Lord tells the children of Israel over and over again to choose me, and they choose not to, right? So there's certain things that he says, like here in Hosea 4 and 6, where he says, I will also forget thy children. Some people would say the Negroes in America are forgotten people, right? Now, it's more than just Negroes in America that we know that are Israelites in this land, right? But being that the video that we're going to watch is speaking specifically about so-called black people, so-called Negroes, right? I'm going to highlight and emphasize so-called black people, so-called Negroes the most, right? We do believe that our Hispanic brothers are Israelites as well as the Native Americans in this land, right? And that's through history, prophecy, archaeology, and a lot of research. So talking about our African American or black brothers and sisters, right? Again, we were a forgotten people. And we can see that throughout slavery. We can see that throughout all of the oppression that we faced in this land. And we know for a fact that this society has not been set up for us to succeed. Matter of fact, maybe it has. Maybe this society has been set up for us to succeed. Maybe we are given the tools to have a good life in this land. But let's go back to this precept right here. Again, Brother Denal, can you read this one more time?
I think Brother Obadiah has something too.
Oh, go ahead, Brother Obadiah.
No, you can finish. I had want to pull something up, but you can finish what you're saying. Can I get after you?
Okay, Con. Well, can you read this real quick? Deuteronomy 16. We're gonna read this and then we're gonna pull what you got.
Con, I had it. Deuteronomy 16:19. Thou shalt not wrest judgment. Thou shalt not respect persons, neither take a gift. For a gift doth blind the eyes of the wise and pervert the words of the righteous.
Con, man. This is why it's important to know this scripture, because this land probably has set it up to where we are successful, but it comes with a price, and the price is to break the laws of God, right? This country is built on the freedom of religion, the freedom of expression, the freedom of speech. Yet at the same time, when there are people like Kyrie Irving, our brother, who back in November 2022 was facing all this ridicule and backlash, or 2023, whichever year it was facing all this ridicule and backlash for just simply stating or simply sharing a link to a book or a link to a movie, right, called Hebrews to Negroes. We can see how he was canceled, he was suspended, right? And we can see how the world was in a frenzy and they disagreed with him just based on his expression of himself, right? In this land, you could be gay, right, homosexual. You could be, I guess you could say, identify as a parrot, right? You can identify as a cat. You can have all these pronouns and have all these, I guess you could say, adjectives, right, to describe you and whatnot. But as soon as you say something to the nature of, I know my true identity, and I know that I am a Shemite, and I know that I am one of the real Jews, right? Then it becomes a problem. So again, this country is set up for you to succeed, but not according to the ways of the Most High God, right? It may be set up for you to succeed, but according to the ways of man. And we don't seek to please man, we seek to please the Father, right? Everything that we should do should be lining up with the lifestyle that who the world calls Jesus Christ lived, and the instruction and wisdom that we have in the Torah, which is the first 5 books of the Bible, and everything written in the law and the prophets, right? Even the intertestamental period, which is regarded as the missing books, the Apocrypha, we can learn from. The problem is Isaiah 30:10. Our people don't want to hear that. We don't want to hear that. We just want to go to church. We want to sing, I am a friend with God. I am a friend of God. He calls me friend. We want to cry tears. We want to. I seen a brother on a video. I don't know if he was a pastor, minister, whatever his position is, but they was in church having worship service, and he jumped up in the air and said, catch this. You know what I'm saying? And he threw a spirit on a brother, and some brother like over there just started passing out. That's what we want to do. We want the theatrics. We want to be like, what's his pastor name? Brother Mike Todd, getting his hair cut in the middle of the service, pulling up to the service in a cyber truck, in the middle of the service. We want all the theatrics that come with it, but we don't really want the truth. Because the truth is, if we read the law of God, we should know that certain things we cannot accept in this land, right? So the video that I'm referencing, we're going to watch it. And it's talking about opportunity for, again, black people in America, right? And the problem is that some brothers think that we have real opportunity to succeed and live a successful life. I'm not going to disagree. You do. The problem is it's not according to the ways of our Father, because that opportunity is going to come with an opportunity for you to continue to transgress the laws of God, right? So let's pull up this video, man. Oh, wait. Before we do that, Brother Obadiah, go ahead. You can pull what you got. My bad.
Damn, what offense? Oh yeah. Can you look up something? Can you look up post-traumatic slave syndrome and read the definition of? Or somebody can read the definition on what
Con, I
that
got
says.
you.
Because it be a lot of people, including our people, especially our people that may be prospering in Babylon. They may tell you, well, slavery was so long ago. That don't affect you. You didn't go through slavery. But once you look into this definition that the brother finna pull up on the screen, you will see how slavery still play a part in how our people think and the things they do still to this day. And it's a book on it too. It's a book on it called Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome. And I actually heard an elder sister. I think her name Joy DeGroy.
DeGry.
She
It
actually
looks like DeGry.
you see her name on the screen?
Yeah,
Oh,
book by Joy DeGry.
Okay, yeah, okay. So I actually had seen it. She actually did a video on it on YouTube. I think multiple videos she spoke on this. Can you get the definition on it, King? Is it up there?
Con, it's up there. Well, which one you want me to read? You gonna want me to go to Wikipedia, or you want me to read the one from her website?
You can read the one right there. Yeah, right here.
Okay, Con. So this is post-traumatic slave syndrome. It is a condition that exists as a consequence of multi-generational oppression of Africans and their descendants, resulting from centuries of chattel slavery. Right?
Con,
is that what you wanted?
Yeah, Con. Yeah, yeah. So basically, like, the feelings and the emotions that our people went through in slavery is passed on from generation to generation, like that fear. And I think I had seen our brother. I had seen a video. It was these people. They had a mouse, right? And every time the mouse would go far, it was shot. It had a collar on it that would shock the mouse, right? If it went to a certain area. So that same mouse had babies, and the babies were scared to go to that same area where their mother went at, because they felt the feelings. They never got shot before in their life, but they felt that fear that their mother had, not going in a certain area. So they never went over there. So that fear, don't let nobody tell you that slavery was in the past. You're not affected by that. We are. A lot of us are still affected spiritually, mentally, emotionally by slavery that happened to our ancestors, man. Right? But you got it, King.
Con. And I don't know if a brother got something to say, just say Salakia, man, because I'm looking at my phone and it's kind of hard to see y'all boxes. But that's true, because at the end of the day, a long time ago, I was speaking on, I did a lesson on I guess you can say that I was talking about pretty much in a short, I was talking about the same thing you were going into, how effects from slavery can be passed down from generation to generation, right? So people think because slavery happened so long ago, and the dumbest question I always hear that people that disagree with that you can still be affected by slavery is, are you a slave? Did you go out and pick cotton? That's sometimes some of the most foolish, I guess you can say, response and rebuttal to the truth. Because the truth is, like the brother Obadiah just so eloquently spoke about, is that yes, trauma can be passed down through slavery in generations, right? If you see people, we call it generational curses, that's what we call it, generational curses. Mm-hmm. And those generational curses didn't just pop up out of thin air. Matter of fact, let's go to the book, right? Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 28. And let's look at some of these generational curses that people associate with, right? We're going to go to verse. Well, we're not going to start at a specific verse, right? Brother Obadiah, can you read this Deuteronomy 28 and 15?
Con. This verse 15. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee.
Right. Now read verse 16 and verse 17.
Con. Verse 16. Cursed shall thy be in the city, and cursed shall thy be in the field. Cursed Cursed shall be thy basket and thy store.
Right. So what you see right here are curses that's placed on the children of Israel, right? And these curses, if we go down to verse number 46, right? And I'll just read this. In Deuteronomy 28 and 46, it says, and they, talking about the curses, shall be upon thee for a sign and a wonder, and upon thy seed forever. So these curses were going to be on us forever, for an eternity, right? How do we know that's true? Because when you look at the promise that God gave Abraham, or the promise that God gave Noah in Genesis, I want to say 9 or Genesis 12. I want to say it was Genesis 9, right? But talking about the rainbow, the Hebrew word for that everlasting in Genesis 9, speaking on the rainbow, was olam, right? And when it rains today, on occasion, when it's heavy rains, you can see a rainbow in the sky. So that's how we know that the same word that was used in Genesis 9, talking about the rainbow being an everlasting covenant, that the Lord wouldn't flood the earth again. We know that these curses are everlasting because it's the same word, right? The Lord said, they shall be upon thy seed forever. Olam, everlasting, right? Until the day he turns them back. But nonetheless, this is how we know that we're the people to an extent. Like the brother always say, it's bittersweet. But speaking to the point of how things are passed down, because they're everlasting, a lot of these things never really go away, right? When we see, when we read Deuteronomy 28 and verse 29, right? It says, and thou shalt grope at noonday as the blind gropeth in darkness, and thou shalt not prosper in thy ways, and thou shalt be only oppressed and spoiled evermore, and no man shall save thee. That's something that we see still happening even in today's time, right? Groping at noonday, right? Our people are gravitating and pulling and looking for any and everything they could find to have some sort of identity, right? Whether it be music, whether it be drugs, whether it be sex, whether it be alcohol, whether it be religion, whether it be politics, our people are gravitating to anything to feel worthy, to feel like it gives them some sort of historical reference that they can relate to. And the problem is, again, the things that we partake of in this system was not set up for us to succeed, right? Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse number 48, right? If a brother, whichever brother wants to, can a brother read this? Deuteronomy 28 and 48.
It says, therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in want of all things, and he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee.
And I'm trying to figure out, when did our oppressors take the yoke of iron off of our neck, right? See, the rabbit hole that some people fall into is just attacking only white people for the monstrosities that happen to our people. But at the same time, what I do agree with some of those brothers and sisters that was sitting and talking to Amanda Seals is that we are responsible for a lot of our own problems. We are the fault. We are to blame. The Lord made a covenant with us. We didn't follow it. He put us in captivity. Now, that doesn't mean that because we are responsible for our downfall, that nobody else had a hand in further destroying us, right? It means that, again, we have to take accountability for our actions, but to take accountability for ours does not mean that it negates the actions of everyone else. Because again, if this land was truly for all people, right, then a lot of the wickedness that this land promotes, they would do away with. For instance, the CORN industry, right? And if you can read between the lines, you know what I'm talking about. We want to preserve our children. We want to raise our children up right. We want to protect our children. But now with this internet, we have access to abominable things online that will pervert our children. But this industry, the world, the government makes money off of it. They make profit from it, right? That's why we have things like OnlyFans. And yes, OnlyFans is not just for naked women and naked men to get on and do abominable acts on. We know that we have models on there. We have people actually running legit business, but they are kind of the minority, or maybe they are the majority. But what we see in the media is the minority of people that are out there selling their body on that platform. And that's what's promoted the most. Because why? It makes them the most money. An 18-year-old girl, within 24 hours of her turning 18, she made $1 million on OnlyFans. being a nude model, doing wicked things online. This is how we know this nation is really not set up for anybody to succeed according to the way the Lord would have us to succeed, right? This nation doesn't even have a set apart Sabbath day for us to follow like the Lord written out in his commandments. So sometimes we forget that, again, verses like Deuteronomy 28:48, where it says, and he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck. We forget that the yoke is still there because it's not as physical as it used to be. Just because we're not getting hosed down in the middle of the streets, right, and attacked by dogs in the middle of the streets, doesn't mean that the yoke of iron is gone. You can still see it with physical oppression when we're being gunned down in the streets and people are still not being held as accountable as they should be for it, right? Again, the whole topic of discussion is about how people develop that Stockholm syndrome. Let's look that up real quick before we go into this video, right? Because we talked about post-traumatic slave syndrome. Let's look up what Stockholm syndrome is. And to the people that saying Wikipedia isn't a scholarly source, man, Wikipedia is not going to say anything different from when you click on a .edu, a .org. It's not going to say anything different because this source has Wikipedia has fact checkers. Matter of fact, it has the work cited at the bottom. Syndrome. I know that some people don't like using Wikipedia, but there's nothing wrong with using it, man. There's other links and things that we can click on. I wouldn't build my whole thesis theory off of this, but, you know, I would use information to pull from here because, again, you see these, let me share this tab. You see these links on the screen. They can take you to whatever source that you're thinking of. And these sources are your .edus, your .orgs, your .govs, your .nets, you know, whatever you prefer to use in your dissertation, right? They're on here. So get off of us. Now, Stockholm syndrome. Yeah, we can read that right there. So I'll read it. Stockholm syndrome is a proposed condition or theory that tries to explain why hostages sometimes develop a psychological bond with their captors, right? Now, emotional bonds can possibly form between captors and captives during intimate time together, but these are considered irrational by some in light of the danger or risk endured by the victims. Stockholm syndrome has never been included in the DSM-5, well, it just says DSM, right, which is the Diagnostic and, you know, Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, right? That's what I had to read when I was taking psychology in college, right? The standard tool for diagnosis of psychiatric illnesses and disorders in the United States, mainly due to the lack of a consistent body of academic research and doubts about the legitimacy of the condition. So pretty much what we just read is that people develop Stockholm syndromes in more ways than one. It's not just as time passes by, you learn to forget and forgive, right? Sometimes it comes because people are so scared to die that they're defending their oppressor from people who want to kill the oppressor so that way they don't die themselves. And that's another way Stockholm syndrome is developed. And I feel like that's the way a lot of our people have taken on. Because in slavery, right, Harriet Tubman, she's known for freeing slaves, but she's also notorious for the quote, I freed 1,000 slaves. I freed thousands of slaves. I could have freed thousands more if they knew that they were slaves. The problem is some people were so scared of the trouble that they would receive from leaving the plantation that they told Harriet, I don't want nothing to do with you. I don't care if you're trying to free me. I'll stay here. I'll be a slave. I don't want to get in trouble. I don't want to die. And those people had children, and they raised their children to be subservient to the slave master. And then those children had children, and they raised their children to be subservient to the slave master, and so on and so forth. And that's how you have a great divide in the so-called black community today, because a lot of us who are descendants of slaves, right, we were raised different by our grandparents, and by our great-grandparents, and by our great-great-grandparents, and so on and so forth, right? Did you have something to say, Brother Azrael? I just seen you moving, but I couldn't see anything. I can't hear you if you're speaking. Okay, Khan. So let's go to the video now, right? Because we've been on this thing for 29, 30 minutes. So let's go to the video and let's look at some of this conversation that was had, right? Let me know if y'all can see and hear. I'm gonna make it big. Hopefully that Khan. So let me play this.
Shout out Jubilee.
Black is toxic.
Fair
And
use.
let's get on the
Fair
fact
use.
that there's no fathers
So
in
white
the black
culture is
home. Let's get
Fair
let's
use.
stop.
Fair use, right? And I put it in the description already. So if anybody feels like, oh, we're using your information without permission, we're using it to educate people, right? So fair use. Let me start it over.
Black culture is toxic. And let's get on the fact that there's no fathers
So
in
white
the black
culture
home.
is-
Let's
Stop.
talk about that.
Who
do we
You're
vote
talking
for?
to a radical, not a Democrat. The radical mind state simply is living opposite to our colonizers, which is
A little
an imperialist, capitalist mind state. And radical blacks do not believe that that is any way for us to
Salakia.
have liberation. Well, here's
So
what you
yeah.
all keep
No,
doing. You
just
Salakia.
I paused it. If somebody
I'm a,
else wants to pull it up.
Yeah, I'm about to pull it up, man. I'll pull a deacon on you, man.
Yeah, bro. I said,
I ain't
said
gonna
from the
cap.
beginning, man.
I ain't gonna
I
cap,
said from
man.
the beginning, man. My
if
screen
Austin-
is shaky.
Austin's content be kind of shaky too sometimes, man. I might have to pull it up.
Since I got on this new first of all, I don't know who Austin is, but since I got on this since I got on this
because you said
platform-
brother Isaiah's government name the other video, but it's all good. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, bro.
Go ahead and pull it up.
I got to rock, paper, scissors. See who pull it up.
I mean, what the title is one more time as I type it.
Just type in Amanda Seals, Seals, versus 20 black conservatives.
Yeah, that's what it is.
You probably could type in Jubilee Amanda, and it probably pop up too.
All right, Con. Oh, that's our video. I'm just playing.
Yeah, brother trying to watch us.
Let me share my.
But while the brother's pulling up that video, man, again, one of the things that we always have to be mindful of is that, you know, just because somebody says something doesn't make it true. You know, always do your research. I will say that a lot of what she was saying, I agree with. There were some things that I don't agree with, like, you know, reparations. You know, her main thing is that we should receive reparations for the things that happen to our people. I don't disagree, but I think that we're looking in the wrong place for those reparations. I'm 100% sure they won't come from America, because even if they did, it wouldn't profit anything, because you would have to go into the science of who's who, right? America's not just going to give money out to every so-called person that identifies as an African American in this land. They're going to have to go and do the history and the research of who's a descendant of a slave, right? And that's not going to happen because there's so many of us, right? And you can't pay over 14 million people $50,000. And we're already in debt. Hell, the government don't even want to give us $20 for free, let alone 50K. So I think it'll be a detriment to our society if we had reparations, because the money would be used for more evil than good. And by evil, I mean that people aren't going to do what we need to do. People are going to be sitting up here buying things that we shouldn't buy. We've seen it with the PPP loans, right? When people got the PPP loans, they was up here buying chains. I seen an older brother, he bought a chain with his 20K, and he went to the gas station and it got snatched. I'm like, why would you spend 20K on a chain? People get money, an influx of money, and they just start going stupid with it, right? Brothers need to learn how to invest in the things that matter, like paying off debt, you know, buy you a house, you know, start you a business, you know, get some life insurance, right? Take care of your chicken first before you start, you know, wanting to go out the coop. But you can play the video.
Salaki too, I wanted to mention about this video. If you could see Salaki for my dog, man, I'm gonna have to move her. I thought she was gonna get used to being there. But if you could see, it's 10.3 million subscribers. And you can see this video was uploaded a day ago and it's almost at 1 million views already. This lets you know that you may be thinking, who cares about this? Nobody even cares about this. you know, that the average person now is tuned into conversations like this, man. The average person now has picked a side, which we talked about this past Sabbath day with a few sheep, right? And we talked about how don't let this society box you into a side, right? Have an open mind and let truth be truth. Khan, I yield.
Khan, you can play the video whenever you're ready, though.
Fair use. Again.
Hey, let's get on the fact that there's no fathers
So
in
white
the black
culture
home. Let's
Stop.
Who do
You're
we vote
talking
for?
to a radical, not a Democrat. The radical mind state simply is living opposite to our colonizers, which is an imperialist, capitalist mind state. And radical blacks do not believe that that is any way for us to have liberation. Well, here's
So
what
when
you
you-
all keep doing.
All right. Now
Interrupting.
you can pause it. Now you can fast forward to about keep going. Right there. Go back a little bit. Right. What mark is that? 802?
Khan.
Okay, play it right from right there, right? We're gonna watch about a minute of this, and then we're gonna break down what he said, right? So play it.
Kill each other, according to the FBI.
Oh, young man.
Yet white people are the oppressors.
I'm not sure.
Oh wait,
where
go back a little bit. Go back a little bit.
$50,000
Start
check.
at like
Dang, it sound like
7:30.
you from the coon.
Committing violent
Start at like
crimes.
7:30.
$50,000 check. It's not going to fix anything.
Dang.
It's not going to increase the median household income in the next
Pause it,
year
dude.
by 10% to 20%.
It was
Yeah,
at
start
7:30.
Go back to 7:30 again. I didn't realize you had went back. So yeah, started from right there about 7:30, and then play it from there.
Everyone here, like a $50,000 check, especially people that are in the streets who are committing violent crimes consistently, a $50,000 check, it's not going to fix anything. It's not going to increase the median household income in the next 10 years by 10% or 20%. For example, we have the Chinese Exclusion Act of 1882. We prevented Chinese people from getting citizenship and even entering the country. We discriminated against them and basically put them under apartheid, even here in the United States. Yet they have the highest median household income. How is that possible? How come they don't complain and feel entitled consistently to beg for reparations and beg for this when they are killing each other 90% of the time, which is the rate that black people kill each other, according to the FBI.
Oh, young man.
Yet white people are the oppressors.
I'm
All
not
right, now
sure
pause right there.
where the information came from, but they lied to you.
Was if
Oh shoot.
Yeah,
So the
dang,
only
I
thing
went
I
back
did-
to the beginning.
Oh, what you was gonna say?
Nah. So basically, are the black what they call what you call them?
Conservatives.
Conservatives. Are they like supposed to be like kind of like coons?
No, they're traditionalists.
They're
Go
the-
ahead. You can explain it.
Conservatives are like traditionalists, so they're very conservative in their viewpoints. Is more so aligned with like a church point of views. So like they're pro family structure, man over the woman takes care of the house, takes care of the kids. They're very old school, so to speak. Right, that's what what conservative is all about, is being old school and traditional. Radical is more liberal and kind of like in today's world, what people are more so like today. If that makes sense.
That makes sense.
Khan, you know, the word conservative means like pretty much modest, right? So if you want to conserve something, you want to save it, you want to preserve it, right? Meaning, like modesty, if a woman is wearing modest clothing, she's conserving her body, right? She's saving her body. She's preserving her body from the eyes of other people. Conservative just means that they're very self-governed, like they have restraint, you know what I'm saying? So like these are two words, liberal and conservative are two words you will hear that really just mean Republican and Democrat, right? Republicans are conservatives, liberals are Democrat, right? So to speak. Liberal just means comes from the word like liberated, which means free, meaning they're free to do whatever they want to, right? That's what a liberal is. They're free opinion, they're free choice, they're free everything. Like that's the whole Democratic Party, right? And then conservatives are like kind of by the book, like, you know, like the brother Denal was saying.
Yeah, so what's the name? Really, so for instance, liberals, going like the brother said, going into that word, it really goes to liberation or liberty. And so you can look at those folks as free-spirited people, right? Free-spirited people. Today, that would be like your LGBTQ, your super woke, Black Lives Matter, the hippie folks, you know what I'm saying? And then like we were saying, the conservatives would be like your Candace Owens, you know what I'm saying? Like, very, very, if you can see in the background, right? Black conservatives, I mean, all conservatives are kind of the same, but you see how the way they're dressed, how brother got a polo shirt on, is very, very modest, not very flashy, you know what I'm saying? Versus the woman, she's very liberal and she's very loud, you know what I'm saying? Usually you can tell a liberal by the way they dress, and you can tell a conservative by the way they dress. You know what I'm saying?
But you are right though.
Different ways of living.
You are right though, Obadiah, in the aspect of the world calls conservative Black people's coon, right? The world calls them coon because the world says that they're siding with the white man, and the white man's ideologies and the white man's theories and the white man's beliefs, right? And the white man's political party.
When in all actuality, they're really just saying that their morals more so aligned with the Bible versus anything. But nowadays the Bible is a book of oppression to minorities. Let them tell it.
Right.
Yes.
But saying that, man, I wanted to get into what the brother said, at the end of his statement, right, when the sister started, kind of insulting him, he said, but white people are the oppressors, yet we kill each other 90% of the time, according to the FBI. So again, two things can be true, and that's something that a lot of people forget when you're having educated discussions like this. People think that only their side of statistics are right, but that's not true. There's also another side to it. Yes, our people kill each other at the highest rate, right? I'm gonna pull up this Bible verse. Well, Brother Azrael, do you mind pulling it up since you already sharing screen? That way we ain't got to go back and forth.
What's the Bible verse?
And pull up Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 54, right? Pull up Deuteronomy 28 and 54. Right. I'll read it since you got it pulled up. So this is Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 54, and it reads, "So that the man that is tender among you and very delicate, his eye shall be evil toward his brother, and toward the wife of his bosom, and toward the remnant of his children, which he shall lead." Now, again, this chapter, Deuteronomy 28, is a chapter highlighting the blessings that the Lord would give us in verses 1 through 14. But if we didn't obey his voice in verse 15, verses 16 through really 68 are just outlining curses that will be upon our people. And one of these curses was his eye shall be evil toward his brother. We can't forget about that, because why? It's important to note that there's a certain people in this land, like the brother on the screen pointed out, we kill each other the most. They kill each other the most, and that's no other than our people, right? So when you see certain things happening, you got to go back to the Bible and kind of inquire of the Lord and see, why is this thus? And when you do, you'll find direct correlations to the Israelites, right? Not to get on that spiel, but to get on the spiel of, again, man, it's a curse on our people to do that, right? It is the truth. The truth is we do kill each other a lot. But the truth is also, in the same wise, is that we're given the opportunity to kill each other the most because of our miseducation. And not only because of our miseducation, but also at the same time, we're not the ones that's building these factories, making these weapons of destruction, right? And giving it to our people. Now, granted, the gun has never killed nobody. It's always been the person behind the gun, right? But how do we address what the brother said with logic and reason? Well, the main thing we have to identify and remember is that Yeah, we do kill each other at a lot more rates, but that's because, again, there's a lot of trauma that we pass down from certain situations and circumstances and positions that we have been in as a people collectively over the last 400 years in this land, right? Even before, you know, it's always context to the story. We kill each other the most, and we're the most oppressed at the same time. The reason that we're so destroyed is because of the oppression that we faced in this land by the hands of other nations of people. We talked seldomly about that last night. However, it's still something to note that there's always context. And I said this earlier on my way home when I was listening to this. I was talking to myself and I said, man, even just say we're wrong, right? Just say we're wrong. The brothers on the screen. Matter of fact, don't even loop them brothers in. Put it all on me because I'm the one who wanted to do this video, right? Just say I'm wrong and the oppression that we face in this land is very minuscule, right? Nonetheless, it's still oppression, right? We got to stop thinking on the individual mindset when it comes to racism in America and oppression in America and start thinking about the mass of our people. Start thinking about the collective, right? And the truth is, as a whole, as a collective, we've been oppressed forevermore, right? We've been, I guess you could say, downtrodden. And that's true. Anybody historically cannot deny the fact that Black people as a whole have been oppressed to some capacity in this land. Regardless if in today's time you think, oh, it's a small number as compared to what was back then, it's still a number that needs to be discussed. So one thing that the brother did was kind of make it, he said something too, and I want to say it'll show when it keeps playing, but he said something to the nature of he's never dealt with systematic oppression. And my thing is that because you haven't dealt with it does not mean it doesn't exist. And that's why, again, just because you say something doesn't make it true. And just because what you say is the truth, give us the context, because there is also something else that could be true as well, right? But you can play the video.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Donald. Go ahead.
Candace Owens kind of feels the same way. And just like you said, man, people got different upbringings and live in different environments. So like Candace Owens, she says that when she grew up, she didn't really she believes that racism really isn't around anymore, just based off of the way that she grew up, because she grew up in a nice area. She didn't really witness racism or prejudice. She had white friends and stuff like this, right? But you as smart as Candace is, she has to understand that was situational. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't possibly think that every Black person is having your experience, especially when you got Black people living in terrible environments. Like Candace, I understand you probably got good intentions, but that the statements that she be making associated with that topic is only biased and pertinent to her life story. She's never had to go through poverty, extreme poverty, or living in the projects or anything like that, right? There's a few celebrities coming out admitting to this themselves, saying, you know, I never knew what poverty was. I grew up with butlers. I didn't eat from Burger King until I was 34. All this stuff, right? So a lot of people, a lot of Black people, of course, they're gonna feel this way. But just because you feel this way, make no mistake, we can take it down the street to some brothers that's actually witnessing racism full-fledged today. You know what I'm saying? Oppression full-fledged today. So like the brother Isaiah was saying, man, just because people say this, man, they kind of got to get out of themselves to see the world and the team on a bigger scale. Also, I want to point out too, last thing, that this brother doesn't look that old. So he probably hasn't witnessed or lived that much life. You know what I'm saying?
Probably he hasn't.
Right.
Hey,
Brother look younger than me, and I'm 27.
Yeah, he do look kind of young. He probably my age, man. Look, probably my age. But hey, I remember. We said
before
King,
you go out real quick, I was gonna say before you go real quick, I was just letting the brother Azrael know that I'm finna share my screen real quick. You don't go away from the video. I just want to share it because I had the precept pulled up over here, and but I'm gonna share these two precepts real quick. All right, you can go ahead though, Obadiah. I'm not gonna do it right at this second.
okay, yeah, I remember. Even a while back, you know, Lil Wayne said something similar to that, man. Because police officer,
dang,
Uncle Bob.
Dang.
You would think about that too.
That was, Nah, bro, I was finna say that. No cap though. But go ahead.
Hey, that's the spirit, man. Yeah, Uncle Bob. He called him Uncle Bob. He was saying something like how something was going on. He was like the black officers. They was stepping over me, but a white man named Uncle Bob, he stopped and saved me. And I don't know if that's the same situation when he said he don't see color or racism.
Yeah, it was the same situation.
It's the same one.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, Lil Wayne said the same thing, but but you got it, King. You probably can explain it more better than I can.
Nah. You hit it right on the head though. Lil Wayne was in an interview and he said, man, he pretty much don't see racism because of that situation. He said he was shot in the chest and the black officers weren't showing him no attention, but it was a white man that kind of saved him, and that's why he feels the way he feels. But again, I was going to make that same point because even celebrities that glorify a certain life, right? Lil Wayne isn't, the model citizen, but at the end of the day, he still kind of has the same viewpoints as a lot of the brothers and sisters that's sitting around in the chairs talking to Amanda Seales. They kind of don't see it the way she see it. And people think it's a bad thing for people like us to see it from our viewpoint. They blame us for the racism, and you'll see it in the next brother that we show, because he'll say something that's going to make you like, what? But we're going to blaze through this because I know we got something to do following this live. So I just want to read these precepts real quick, right? This is 1 Corinthians chapter 12, and I'm going to start at verse 18, right? Let's read verse 18. It says, but now hath God set the members, every one of them, in the body as it hath pleased him. And pretty much all Paul is elaborating on is that, the body is made up of different parts that play different roles and positions, right? Everything can't be the same, because if it was, then where would, like it reads in verse 17, if the whole body were an eye, where were the hearing? If the whole body were hearing, where were the smelling? So pretty much alluding to that we all have different gifts, and that's how we build the kingdom, because we all have different gifts, right? Now, let's read verse 19. And if they were all one member, where the body, right? If we were all a toe, where would be the legs, Verse 20. But now are they many members, yet but one body. So we're many members, right? Some people are fingers, some people are thumbs, some people are eyes, some people are ears, some people are hair follicles, but we're still a part of the same body. At least we should be, right? And the eye cannot say unto the hand, I have no need of thee, nor again the head to the feet, I have no need of you. Nay, much more those members of the body which seem to be more feeble are necessary, right? And those members of the body which we think to be less honorable, upon these we bestow more abundant honor, and our uncomely parts have more abundant comeliness, right? So pretty much in a general sense, right? I got to go off camera for a sec because my wife is going to walk in, but pretty much in a general sense that we pretty much build the body, and the parts of the body that you think are less important are really the most important parts. Like, people don't know the pain and severity of tearing your ACL until you actually tear it, right? You don't even make no mention of your ACL. People be more scared to break a leg than they are to tear a ligament. The ligaments serve just as great a purpose as tendons, right? They all work for the same purpose. But let's keep reading. Verse 24, for our comely parts have no need, but God had tempered the body together, having given more abundant honor to that part which lacketh, right? Honor to that part which lacketh, right? Verse 25, because this is the point, that there should be no schism in the body, but that the members should have the same care one for another. So this is important to emphasize. There should be no schism in the body, but we should all have the same care one for another. Now I'm going to share this tab, because what is schism? For those who might not know, schism is a noun, and it's a split or division between strongly opposed sections or parties caused by differences in opinions or belief, right? Caused by differences in opinion or belief. So our body, right, even though 1 Corinthians, Paul was elaborating on a spiritual sense, right? Even when you look at on a spiritual sense, he was elaborating in a spiritual sense for the body of Christ, right? But let's elaborate on a spiritual sense for the body of so-called Negroes in America. We have a lot of schism because we all have different opinions and beliefs, right? And that's why it says that there should be no schism. There should be no division. We should all be on one accord. Why? Because like Amos 3:3 says, can two walk together lest they be agreed? And the thing that has me upset is the fact that we've allowed schism to enter into our body because of the tactics of the oppressor, right? The gifts, the gifts that we took, it caused us to pervert our hearts, pervert our judgment. We started turning a blind eye to wickedness. We started accepting their political system. We started accepting their governing system. We started accepting their wickedness and making it our wickedness, right? And I got one more precept to pull before we get back to the video. Because again, I'm trying to be, I guess you could say a man of word when it comes to our affairs, right? First Maccabees, I'm going to share this tab again. First Maccabees chapter 1. And I'll read it. This is the intertestamental period, by the way. First Maccabees 1:1. And it happened after that Alexander, son of Philip, the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Chedium, had smitten Darius, king of the Persians and Medes, that he reigned in his stead, the first over Greece, right? So just a little history, right? Like the brother Azrael brought out over the weekend. If you can't tell, I'm kind of biting a lot of the teaching that he gave over this past weekend, because over the course of the next couple of days, man, a lot of the teaching that came to pass on the Sabbath has been displayed, throughout the social life, throughout just thoughts and conversations and lessons, right? But let's read verse 11. So First Maccabees 1:11. In those days went there out of Israel wicked men, right? These men are wicked, who persuaded many, saying, let us go and make a covenant with the heathen that are round about us. For since we departed from them, we have had much sorrow. What does it say in verse 12? So this device pleased them well. Verse 13. Then certain of the people were so forward herein that they went to the king, who gave them license to do after the ordinances of the heathen. Again, these men were wicked who did that. If you're going to the oppressor and you're saying, hey, let us be a part of you, let us partake in what you partake in, because when we're not on the same page with you, we have much sorrow, right? That is a thing that does not please the Lord. Those men were wicked who redeemed that. Why is it important to know this? One more. I know I said the last one, but again, I can't read that without reading this. Deuteronomy 4. Deuteronomy 4. You all right? Deuteronomy chapter 4. Let me start at verse number 5. Right? I know we read this last night, but I'm going to read it again. It says, behold, I have taught you statutes and judgments, even as the Lord my God commanded me, that ye should do so in the land whither ye go to possess it. Right? The Lord gave us statutes and commandments that we should have followed. Verse 6. Keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations. Again, like I said last night on live, we were supposed to be that wise and understanding people in the sight of all the heathen. But that was if we followed the commandments of the Lord. Now we're wise according to the world. And like 1 Corinthians 3:19 says, the wisdom of the world is foolishness with God, right? But why is it important to know this? Let's finish this out. Which shall hear all these statutes and say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people. So we were supposed to be this wise and understanding people in the sight of the nations. But why is it important to highlight that we should never follow after what the heathen does, like the Lord emphasized and made clear that it was wicked men in the time of the Maccabees, right? Let's read verse 9, right? Only take heed to thyself and keep thy soul diligently, lest thou forget the things which thine eyes have seen, and lest they depart from thy heart all the days of thy life. But teach them thy sons and thy sons' sons, right? So we were supposed to do that, because if we didn't, we were going to forget the things that the Lord had done for us. We were going to forget the miracles. We were going to forget him parting the Red Sea. We were going to forget the covenant, the law, statutes, and commandments. We were going to forget how to love our neighbor as ourselves. We were going to forget, how to purify ourselves, right? We were going to forget who we were as a people, right? And that's why we should not be partaking of the things that the heathen has to offer us, because then we forget that we're one body and that there should be no schism in our body. And because we've started partaking in the heathen's politics and actions, now we have a great division. And then you have brothers saying things like, well, we're not oppressed because I'm not oppressed. But we're one body. We're the same people. How is there people? And I bet money, nobody that was sitting in any of them chairs around that table, outside of Amanda Seals, nobody in those chairs that was coming up to talk to her would go to neighborhoods in LA, California, would go to all the hoods in America, even on the East Coast, right? You wouldn't go to these hoods and tell people racism don't exist. You're your own problem, right? Because a lot of people that live in these communities of oppression that go through, the gang violence and all these things, the people who are in those communities are people that probably have faced oppression firsthand.
Yeah,
again, the reason, and I'll let you go, but real quick, the reason Ice Cube made that song called F the Police was literally because he said they was outside of the studio, they got racially profiled, it was a black cop that was siding with the white cop, making himself seem high and mighty, right? And then he went inside the studio and wrote that song called F the Police, So, again, just because you haven't experienced it firsthand, don't forget that you're just one member of the body. There are many members, but it's still one body. And if you're not hurting, make sure that nobody else is hurting before you say things like, because I haven't experienced it, it's not true, right? But go ahead, Buck.
Kanye, I was gonna say, man, I think that we are the only people that probably got that mindset of, I'm not getting oppressed. Or you have one of us that make it and they feel like, they good. All the other nations, like the East Indian man, the Arab man, the Chinese man, the so-called white man, they thinking like, okay, how can I get my people involved? Right? How can I have this wealth to my people? Like these people, these East Indians that own these corner stores, they be connected with other East Indian people that have corner stores. They be lending them stuff. They be checking on them. I seen one time, I think like it's a liquor store down here. He got cameras to another person's liquor store somewhere else. So if he leave the cash register and go somewhere to the bathroom, the other store is watching and making sure nobody ain't stealing nothing before he come back, man. So it's like they look out for each other. It ain't no, well, I made it and I'm good and I ain't getting oppressed. No, these other nations, they look out for their people. They make sure their people straight. But when it comes to us, we're only looking out for ourselves. Oh, I ain't oppressed, so I guess it ain't no oppression going on. That's crazy. But you got it, King.
That's a fact, man. Partly where the mindset that it comes from. Well, two parts. One is, a first generation conservative, right? They'll never say what the second and third generation conservatives gonna say, because the first generation conservative is usually somebody that makes it out the hood, right? That has been in the hood, that made it out the hood, and now is living in a nice area and amongst more like-minded individuals, right? But they still have a part of them that still knows what it's like being in the hood. Now, when they have kids, their kids are the second and third generation conservatives that never witnessed being in the hood, and they got a whole different perspective on life. Now, I will say this too. Sometimes, I think it sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes I think it comes from a good place, and that good place is saying, I don't want to have a defeatist mentality, or I don't want our people to feel sorry for themselves. And that's how they'll spin it. You know what I'm saying? That's how Candace Owens spins it, right? But at the same time, the same token, we can't ignore the fact that it's still around. I understand they don't want to see. So when Candace Owens says it, she says stuff like that us being oppressed in 2025 is just a way for the white people to make ourselves feel bad and to keep depending on them. So they kind of switch it. But at the same time, man, we can't ignore the fact that it still happens, right? You can feel that way all you want to, and it can be partly true that we have a defeatist mindset, but we can't ignore the fact that it's still happening, because if we ignore it, then we can do nothing about it. But I yield.
And that's what they want.
Right. Right. But and the thing too is, again, man, I gotta share it one more time because people forget that there's no escaping depending on the enemy, right? So we're not even saying like this is what I'm gonna always speak for myself, right? Because not every brother feels the same as me, but I will say this: we're not even up here teaching that. We're not even up here teaching a defeatist mentality, right? We're not teaching that you can't do anything. Matter of fact, our position is, according to Philippians 4:13, that we can do all things through the power that the Most High gave Christ, and the power that Christ told us that we have, who gives us strength, right? So we can do all things. We believe that. We stand by that. The problem is that you have people that think that because you want to deal with the past, you can't move into the present. It is my position that if you don't know your history, you're going to be doomed to repeat it. Because the further you get away from your history and who you are as a people, the more and more covenants will be made with the heathen. And we're going to be going through the same thing. It's going to get to a point where our nation will just be a nation that's consumed up. Now, of course, according to biblical prophecy, we know that's not going to happen. However, it's still a situation whereas we need to make sure that we're not ignorant to the history of this country. We're not ignorant to the founding of this country, and we're not ignorant to the things that happen on a daily basis, even the things that we don't see, right? We're not up here teaching that, oh, white people hold us down. We're teaching that we need to change our own actions, but white people dang sure don't give us a hand up. But it's not just white people. Again, it's not just exclusive to one race of people, right? There are a lot of wicked brothers and sisters who are black, right? And they choose to do their actions. But the thing, what happened is that the people who are in rulership in this country, right, which we can all simultaneously agree that it is so-called white people that are the face of this country, right? We can all understand that at the end of the day, they have a job and a duty and responsibility to give us the truth about who we are and where we come from, and they failed to do that. They could have done that. They could have given us the tools to weaponize ourselves with intellect, correct intellect, proper intellect, according to the Most High God. But instead, they gave us pseudo-religion, right? They gave us pseudo-science, and they told us, go make something of yourselves with this. We're going to put you in 400 years of oppression. Then we're going to sign June 19th, 1865, right? We're going to sign the Emancipation Proclamation. What you said?
I was saying, yeah, Juneteenth.
Yeah, we're gonna give you these holidays like Juneteenth. We're gonna give you all these things like Black History Month. We're gonna give you people like Martin Luther King. We're gonna give you Rosa Parks. We're gonna give you, W.E.B. Du Bois, right? But we're not necessarily gonna give you people like Fred Hampton. We're not gonna give you Nat Turner, right? And any radical brother or sister that stood up for the people that as they should have, as they felt compelled to, right? We're not going to give you those people. And I'll say this before I go to this scripture. Again, people have to realize that because we were in oppression, we were only given we weren't educated at all in oppression. We weren't educated during slavery. We was only educated enough to know what they wanted us to know. And there's people who get mad at people who were on the plantation causing an uproar like Nat Turner, who were killing their white slave masters and his friends and other slave masters, right? Due to anger, due to oppression, right? Because as the Bible says in Ecclesiastes 7:7, surely oppression maketh the wise man mad. And the second half of that scripture is, and a gift destroyeth the heart. So there's people who's mad at people like Nat Turner, right? But at the same time, don't understand that Nat Turner wasn't given I guess you can say, an opportunity to have an education, right? And you can say, oh, well, it's because of his actions. Well, he could have died as a slave. And what would he have done his whole life? He would have just been somebody that the slave master was using to teach a certain scriptures out the Bible to keep people oppressed. But again, we get mad at people like Nat Turner. And then we'd like to say, well, that's wrong. But who are you to say that? You were given an opportunity to take gifts from the oppressor, and you took it, and you made something of yourself according to the wisdom of the world. But again, it's foolishness with the Most High God. Now, let me bring this up, and then we can get back to the video, right? This is Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse number 48. Again, therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee. How are we going to serve our enemies? In hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in want of all things. So to hear Candace Owens say something like she doesn't feel like we need to depend on white people is stupid, because again, we're always going to depend on somebody that's not us. Why? Because this is not our kingdom. We're not in rulership. We can be the face of the NBA. We can be the face of Interscope Records. We can be the face of QC, the label, right? We can be the face of the NFL. But when it comes to politics, when it comes to actually control and power, we have no control. And I'm not saying that we can't have control. We can if we realize we were one body. The problem is we don't, because there's a schism. A lot of schisms in our body, a lot of divisions, a lot of different understandings. And that's because we're groping at noonday, like we read in Deuteronomy 28 earlier, right? But Brother Azrael, can you pull the video back up? We're going to watch a little bit of the video, then we're going to shut this thing down. Oh, let me stop sharing. And then you can share Khan. So you can play it from where you at. I want to get part of what the next brother came up and said too.
It's on mute, brother. You on mute. You're gonna have to come off of mute to play the video.
I think he can play it without mute. I just think he got to share a tab. Yeah, there you go.
Chinese Act of 1882. We prevented Chinese people from getting citizenship and even entering the country. We discriminated against them and basically put them under apartheid, even here in the United States. Yet they have the highest median household income. How is that possible? How come they don't complain and feel entitled consistently to beg for reparations and beg for this when they are killing each other 90% of the time, which is the rate that Black people kill each other, according to the FBI?
Oh, young Matt.
Yet white people are the oppressors.
I'm not sure where your education came from, but they lied to you.
Stats don't lie, though.
Statistics lie all the time. So let's start there, particularly when the statistics are coming from the sources that gain from the statistics being shown a different way. So if you're going to start your argument on stats don't lie, you've already lost the argument. They lie all the time. One, comparing Chinese people who are immigrants that made a choice to come to the United States and comparing the continued effort of Black people to ground themselves in a nation that continues to make impediments for them to show and live and exist in their true citizenship is a false equivalency.
I don't believe that happens at all. No one here is in.
Are you acting right now? Do you really believe this?
I'm telling the truth. There's no systemic racism that I've experienced here in America. What system is racism?
Look what he just said. He said there's no systemic racism that I experience in America. And the
brother, are you old enough to even be a part of the system? To be systemically discriminated against? You must be old enough to be a part of the system that does it.
Hey, Brother Denal said it, man. He don't even look old enough. He don't look experienced, man. Like the Bible tells us in the intertestamental period, which is the Apocrypha. Right, look, in Ecclesiasticus, also known as Sirach, right, the intertestamental part of the book, right, the Apocrypha, which is referred to as the missing books, man. Chapter 34 tells us that a man who has traveled much will have much wisdom, right? Because experience is the best teacher. And I don't think this brother is experienced enough. And the fact that he said there is no systematic oppression in America that he has faced shows that he has a lack of experience, right? So it'll be a culture shock. It'll be a culture shock to him once he comes across somebody that even if he doesn't have this hate in his heart for America, he's going to realize that racism exists naturally in certain parts of the earth, and he just has to go have an opportunity to go there and visit them. What you say, Obadiah?
Let him his first career in. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, I was gonna say he got to be like 14 years old or something, because like for him not to he probably have experienced it, but he don't know that he experienced it. Like somebody probably have said some racial slurs to him, but they said it in like a joking manner, so he didn't take it serious. But it's like, bro,
he probably not in touch with the Black culture enough to know when somebody's doing something racist to him. Like somebody might have brought up some watermelon. He probably don't even know about the watermelon stereotype.
Yeah,
it probably went straight over his head.
He give me that Carlton off Fresh Prince. Like,
Well,
you
you
give me
know,
that
a lot of conservatives, right? When they say that they don't experience racism, they mean like they don't physically feel physical effects of it, right? So like they may have heard racist things, but they chop it up to that person's just stuck in their ways. That person's just stupid. But they feel like that has nothing to do with them, and they feel like it doesn't affect their life if somebody makes a racist remark to them or doesn't open a door for them. They feel like they feel like it's an individual problem and
Well,
not
see,
their
the
problem. And so that's why
problem
they
is,
talk
though,
like
not to cut you off.
that's why they talk like that, because they feel like everything in America is freedom of each person to do whatever they want to. So that's why they say that, because they still experience it. They just don't categorize it as the same.
The problem
But
is,
you know,
though,
he even said
specifically
he's
said-
faced no systematic oppression there's no systematic oppression that he's experienced. So even in a physical sense, he still wouldn't even be talking about that point, because the topic was systematic, and he's saying he hasn't experienced systematic racism, which is crazy. But go ahead, brother Nall.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying though.
That's what I'm saying. He's not talking about regular racism. He specifically honed in on systematic systemic racism. And I'm like, bro,
That's
you're
what
not
I'm
even
saying.
old enough to witness. Like,
Look,
bro,
that's what I'm
anybody
saying,
that has a job that's been running for a promotion that's black has witnessed being qualified for something and not getting it. Like, you're not even old enough to be in the system to witness it anyway. You probably work at Taco Bell or something, bro.
Nah, he's probably in college, and he's probably makes good grades, and he's probably got
Doesn't
places.
have a job.
He probably has gotten places where other so-called white people have gotten because of his academics. And so he probably feels like it's an even playing field, and he probably looks at other blacks like, you just need to study and stop being such a nigga, and you will be okay in this world, because opportunities are out here for us.
That's him.
But he doesn't understand that,
That's him.
you know, the thought of stop being such a nigga is systemic racism.
Right. Not only that, it's like, bro, wait until you graduate. And wait until you graduate, and all your white friends, they're gonna be running companies that's been passed down to them, and you're gonna have to start from ground zero.
Then they
You know
gonna
what
let him know that you nothing but a nigga in the coop. He can have a coop.
I have better grades than so and so. How is he running Geico? You know what I'm saying? Why I gotta start from an entry level? Because it's systemic racism, brother.
Mm-hmm.
We don't own nothing here.
Hey, brother Azrael, can you scroll to 12 minutes, right? So this video, if y'all want to check it out, y'all see the title, man, go watch it. It is an hour and 31 minutes long. But you know, nonetheless, you can hear the different, I guess you could say, points of view, even from people who are in the same, I guess you could say, whatchamacallit, I guess in the same mindset, conservative, right? But scroll to 12 minutes. And the brother that's finna come up is the brother that I seen on the video earlier that I definitely wanted to hear his point. So you can play it from there.
You can have music chair.
What's that on your chain?
This is corn from Israel.
Lord have mercy.
Yes, you got it. Oh,
That's a choice that you are making for yourself.
yes. The thing with the whole reparations thing, and I don't know, we're probably close to the same age, so maybe you can't call me.
How old are you?
I'm 32.
I am 44.
Oh, really? Oh, you look young.
Thank you. That's what water and keeping stress out of your life will do.
Really? Liberal positions are real stressful.
By the way, I wouldn't know. I'm not a liberal. Carry on.
Well, it's the liberal position, because conservatives believe in hard work. We believe in going to work and working for what you got,
Yep.
not asking for handouts
Right.
from people who never had slaves. Some of the people that you're asking for money from never had slaves. And
Okay.
let's talk about the fact there were also black people that had slaves. So
It was coming.
about
It was coming.
that, how is that fair? If I'm a white person and my family fall on the side of the Union, why should I have to pay for slaves when this whole country was never all racist? Some of the founding fathers were abolitionists, and they hated slavery. And they actually put things in the Declaration of Independence and things too, because they believed that there'll be a future where there would be a black president one day, or that there would be people in leadership that were black. There was people in the North who helped with the Underground Railroad and fought with the Union. So why is that fair for people who never had slaves, who fought against slavery, to have to pay for people that had slaves.
These were the
One,
coon
from my understanding,
conservatives for sure.
You are more interested in preserving the fairness of those who didn't have slaves than the fairness of those who are the descendants of slaves. That is priority to you than finding a fair way to accommodate those who are the descendant of slaves.
Well, our ancestors wasn't asking for handouts. They were asking for equal opportunity. And we have equal opportunity in this country. We had a black president, just in case you didn't know. We had a black president and we had a black vice president. I mean, I think she was black. They said she was black. I don't know. So we had a black president, and you know who voted for that black man? White people, because you can't win a popular election in this country without white people. So Barack Obama is the product of white people. So let's get off this thing where, oh, America is so racist. What's making America so racist is people that continue to talk about racism and continue to focus on racism instead of focusing on unity and bringing our country forward. People that are having mindset are infecting our communities, black people, and making us victims and not victors. I refuse to embrace a victim mentality, because that's not what our grandparents and Harriet Tubman and those people fought for. They fought for equal
not bring up
opportunity.
Harriet Tubman's name in vain, baby, please.
Let's get the Lord's name in vain. The Lord's name.
Harriet Tubman was literally
You brought up Harriet Tubman?
her family and others from slavery.
Yeah. You know, white people.
Hey, you can pause it right here real quick. Pause it right here real quick.
You there?
Can y'all hear me?
It's kind of staticky. Like someone's unplugged.
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, Con, man, my dang phone will start tripping again. But Con, man, but literally through that conversation, you can already see that some of our people just are so far removed from history that they'll start quoting people and figure.
You kind of froze up.
Yeah, restate what you said.
That's why, man. It's I forgot I hotspot on. I'm finna cut it off because I gotta cut.
Did brother say the United States was not founded on racism?
Can y'all hear me now?
He was saying that the whole United States wasn't racist. He was saying that half of the United States wanted to abolish racism because they hated it, but really we know why they wanted to abolish it, because they wanted to put us to work so they can get more money off of us, really. But
right.
You know.
But that's the thing, man. That's the thing. See, what people fail to realize is that when you start quoting these figureheads in history, he quoted Harriet Tubman and said Harriet Tubman didn't fight for this, not even knowing that Harriet Tubman has the quote, "I freed 1,000 slaves. I would have freed 1,000 more if they knew they were slaves." She wouldn't support his ideology. She was on the plantations. He think that she was fighting for equality. Nah, she was trying to get the heck out of Dodge, man. They don't know. And the thing is, we just see and they what they consider the figureheads that for us to look up to is the people who weren't as radical, right? So Martin Luther King wasn't as radical, right? He was more of a peaceful approach type of brother. And the thing is, that's why the government promotes him, because even his ideology wasn't anti-American system. His ideology was, let's bring America together. And this was during the time of Jim Crow, which is crazy, is because there were a lot of Negroes that didn't even agree with MLK. And you've seen the ones that did. But the problem is that America only agrees with you is if you agree with them. For instance, Nick Cannon, right? When he said something on his podcast years ago, he got canceled, shut down. What's it called? Wild 'N Out was discontinued. VH1 was stripped from him, right? He lost all his media sources and connectivity, right? All over his belief system. So we can see that when you get out of line of control, right? When you step out of the realm, right, of control and bondage, that's when you begin to feel the effects of how oppression really is. Because like we referenced earlier, Kyrie Irving went through the same thing. And all he did was share a link to a book or a link to a movie on his Twitter. And then it caused this uproar. And in turn, it got him suspended. He couldn't even play basketball no more, right? The owner, Joe Tsai of the Brooklyn Nets, had him go through 6 things that he had to do and complete before he could hoop again, which is, again, oppression. It's control. I'm taking money from you because I disagree with your education, with your intellect. And that's literally what it was. Because Nick Cannon had a certain viewpoint about his religion, his belief, his background, his heritage, his history, he got canceled. And they literally stripped money from him. That is oppression, right? Our grandfathers were not fighting for the opportunity to be equal. These people wanted to be free. It was just hidden in the umbrella of equality because they was like, dang, can we at least not get treated like this? Y'all don't even treat yourselves like this.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it's Stockholm syndrome, and that's where it comes from. People like him who were probably raised by people that said, Massa, please don't kill all of us because Joe want to step out of line. Let Joe get killed and kill Joe only. But don't kill me, Massa. I'm not with that. Go ahead, Brother Denal.
Con, man, again, man, this goes back to generations, right? First of all, I want to just to say he thought that he was in the same generation as her. There's a reason why she thinks one way and he thinks another. There's a 10-year gap, right? I preface that by saying this: through generations, 12 years, right? I was just saying in general speaking, but 12 years, right? Even worse, right? But when you're dealing with generations, you deal with the chance of discontinuing your heritage and what you believe as a people more and more. That's why we're so lost today, because we're so far removed from slavery. Bring up this example all the time: Booker T. Washington, W.E.B. Du Bois, right? Booker T. Washington and W.E.B. Du Bois were on 2 separate sides of the spectrum. W.E.B. Du Bois was the one that brought in marching in the streets, wanting to join the white man's military, doing peaceful protests, right? He was the one that did all of this, where Booker T. Washington was the one that was trying to build the Black Wall Streets of the world, that came out and made public statements saying, we don't want to join the white man's military. The white man's war has nothing to do with us, right? Booker T. Washington was all about separatism. Booker T. Washington, he actually made one of the first historical Black colleges in Tuskegee University because he was such a separatist and he didn't want to participate in the white people's colleges, right? I bring this up to say the 2 different mindsets stem from 2 different generations. Booker T. Washington actually witnessed slavery, right? He witnessed slavery and he witnessed being freed. Coming out of slavery as a slave, this was his mindset, is to separate from his enemy. W.E.B. Du Bois, he was a generation or 2 removed. I think his great grandparents were slaves, but he was born into freedom. So his mindset was different than that of a slave. His mindset was more so like, let's be equal, versus the slaves that were coming out. Their mindset was like Brother Isaiah said, get the heck out of Dodge. We don't want nothing to do with them, right? So just by seeing the difference between generations, you can see the different mindsets and how by generation and generation and generation, we become more docile, more dumbed down to what's going on. And that's all by design, right?
Right. And that's the problem, again, when you have, like the brother said, a generation of people to rise up that come from people who who come from the very people who were separated from reality or the truth of the matter. Then you get brothers like that on the screen, right? And the brother in the person, it wasn't a brother that shared this video. It was somebody, but their Instagram is the right-winged angel. And I'll follow them, just for political sense. And more importantly, I followed them and I seen that post this morning with this brother in her conversation. And it was just like, man, this brother sounds so ignorant to be 32. He's only, 5 years older than me? I'm 27. So if somebody 5 years older than me thinks like that, it's kind of crazy work. And I know 32-year-olds that don't think like him. So it literally is a schism, right? But it doesn't make sense how, like the brother Obadiah said earlier, it's our people that's always focused on saving everybody but ourselves. We've gotten to the point that we don't even care about what happened no more. We just want to focus on what we can do from here. That's not wrong. But the problem is what you can do from here is not centered around the Most High God. It's centered around possessions in this land. And this land has nothing to offer us, right? Which is why I do agree with them that the reparations that Amanda Seals is fighting for, I would actually hate it. Well, I wouldn't hate it if I was given 50K, but I would. Let me rephrase this so that way nobody clip this and think that I'm a crab in a bucket, right? I'm not saying I hate it from the standpoint of everybody got, or what you call it. I'm not saying I would hate it from the standpoint if everybody got bread. I'm not saying it. I'm saying it, I would hate it from the standpoint of it really would not profit anything, like the other young brother said, because it's not going to raise median household income within the next 10 years. Because if every Negro in America had 50K, then now we're going to have a bigger problem. Somebody's going to want to start a company. Who's going to be the boss? Who's going to be the CEO? You see what I'm saying?
Sure.
You know? So at the end of the day, man, we really need to get on the same page, right? We really need to get on the same page when it comes to our intellect and our ideology. It is my position and brothers on the screen position that the only thing that could fix us in this land is the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High God. I mean, right. I'm not even gonna sugarcoat it, right? People have given everything a chance. We given marching a chance. We given protesting a chance. We given financial literacy a chance. We've given political elections a chance. How much chances can we take, right? Or how many chances do we have to take before we give the law, statutes, and commandments of the Lord a chance, right? Go ahead, brother.
King, can I get a precept before you close out, man?
Go ahead.
Psalm chapter 137 and verse 7. You know, and like the brother Isaiah said, man, it's too late. If they was gonna give us reparations, they should have gone ahead and gave it to us earlier, because there's no sense in them trying to give us money now. We destroyed. Like, we in 2025, we so destroyed mentally that we not gonna know what to do with it. We're gonna go spend that money and buy some jewelry, buy some stuff we really don't need. So that's why we passed the money side of the reparations, right? We need, like the brother said, the law, statutes, and commandments. We need Christ to come and deliver us from here and save us, man, because it is no, even then we talking about money, is no amount of money they can give us that's gonna really equal up to all the crime, to all the work, the hard work that we had to do to build this country up. It's not enough money they can pay all of us, man. So this is why, you know, our big brother Christ, he gonna come back and set things straight. But you got this, King.
Khan, this is Psalms 137 and 7, and it says, "Remember, O Lord, the children of Edom in the day of Jerusalem, who said, raise it, even to the foundation thereof."
Right. So we see that David is telling the Most High to remember what the children of Edom did. But a lot of times now, our people want to forget. This is why they always come up with the phrase, forget about the past. But they only say forget about the past when it comes to our history, because they still keep 4th of July, which was in 1776, right? That was a time of what black people was doing in slavery, right? They still remember 9/11, right? That was what, 2001, right? They still remember Patriots Day, President's Day, honoring the forefathers of the country. But when it comes to our history, it's forget about the past. And now our people are adapting that. Now they're trying to forget about the past. But David here, he's remembering it to the point where he's telling the Lord to remember what they did. So you can judge the Edomites for what they did to us, man. So we got to have this same mindset, not like the brother had on the screen that was just talking. We got to have the mindset of our forefather David. David is telling the Most High to not forget what the Edomites did, what did to us. He didn't say, Lord, forget what the children of Edom did. He said, remember. So we got to have that mindset to remember the history. And a lot of people don't know the history. A lot of people don't know, like, brothers saying all type of crazy stuff about that's in the past. It was a bombing by our own government in Philadelphia in 1985. It was called, it was this movement called the Move Movement. And it was kind of in a sense like the Black Panthers that was protecting the neighborhoods. and our own U.S. government dropped bombs on their houses in Philadelphia in 1985. My parents were 3 years old. It wasn't 1985 was not that long ago, but they don't want to talk about it, you know. And that was by our own government. But people say, "Oh, racism don't exist." And then after, I'm gonna say one more thing, because people love to just stop at slavery. People don't understand. After slavery, we came into a new era of racism. It's called segregation. So it just wasn't slavery, and that was it. You had segregation. We had Black Wall Street. We had the I think it's called Seneca Village in New York City that they turned into a park now. We had the MOVE movement in around times in the area like that, man. We had all these different things. So it wasn't just slavery. It was a timeline of racism that our people went through and even going through still to this day, man. But you got it, King.
Man. And it's important to note that, again, we're not the people that say we can't do anything about the situation that we're in. We're the people that take the approach that we can do everything about the situation that we're in. The problem is there's a schism between our understanding of what we can do and your understanding of what we can do. Leftists, or not even leftists, but conservatives, understanding is take part of the system and use it to your advantage. And you know what? Matter of fact, I don't even all the way disagree with that, because I agree that I don't mind using social platforms like YouTube. I don't own YouTube. Black men don't own YouTube, right? I don't mind using Google. I don't mind using the information and media out there to help me further my research and understanding about who we are, right? So yes, I agree with that aspect. Use the system and take advantage of it. Use it to your benefit. The problem is the end goal for us is to use this to teach our people who we are, to turn back to the covenant of the Lord. The end goal for them is live a good life according to the world standards, but not the standards of God. And that's the difference. So we have to get on the same page about what the truth is. And the truth is this word of the Lord, right? Let me read this. Lamentations 4:17. It says, as for us, our eyes as yet failed for our vain help. In our watching, we have watched for a nation that could not save us. Again, these nations cannot save us. They cannot do anything for us. It's just like that was being said in Isaiah chapter 30, right? We went to the pharaohs. The pharaohs couldn't do nothing for us. We went to all these other nations to help us out. We've had people in our community get raised to the, I guess you could say, the top of the list to serve as the face for our people, but they still couldn't change our situation. So if the government can't change our situation and our own people like MLK couldn't change our situation, then what's going to change it? Who's going to be the one to change it? None other than the Most High God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, right? Again, we have to separate ourselves, right? Let me get this last precept. Ecclesiastes chapter 6. Oops. Right. Ecclesiastes chapter 6. Let me see. What was I looking for? 6 and 6, 6 and 7, 6 and 13. Here we go. Ecclesiastes 6 and 13, right? What does it say? Separate thyself from thine enemies and take heed of thy friends, right? Like we talked about yesterday, man, we need to come out of the system, right? We need to come out of this ideology of thinking that, you know, it's going to be beneficial for us to use the system in the way the system wants us to use it, right? Part of the reason why, and I know from, you know, if at all possible, live peaceably with all men. So I'm not even encouraging people to go spark an uproar. But part of the reason why it angers my soul sometimes to see how this system works is because a black man will get killed and gunned down in the streets unlawfully, right, by a law enforcement officer, right? Then the person that gets sentenced for the crime, if he does get sentenced to a reasonable sentence, right, And there is no reasonable sentence that could change death, right? I feel like an eye for an eye. And so, and I'm just speaking from a radical standpoint now. Sometimes I feel like an eye for an eye. You know, I feel like some of these people got to perish for the things that they do. And their time will come according to the Most High God, right? But it's just crazy how even in that aspect, right, it's not equality. You know, law enforcement officers are given a pass to kind of like, I'm not going to say abuse the system, but they can abuse their power towards civilians and citizens. And 9 times out of 10, those civilians and citizens are Negroes or so-called Black people and so-called Hispanics. And Hispanics are the majority, right? And it's just crazy how there's people that really think that oppression doesn't exist. And there's people that think that opportunity is equal when we can clearly see, historically speaking, it hasn't even been that, right? So, again, if you want to go watch the video, you know, you seen the title when the brother Azrael had it up on the screen. Go check it out. It's an hour and 30 minutes. You know, you can listen to it on the way to work, on your way home from work, on your lunch break, whatever. You know, it'll just give you, again, another perspective, you know, give you more ammunition on why we should continue to teach this gospel and tell people to keep the commandments of the Lord. But I don't got nothing else to add. The brothers got anything? Con. Well, with that, man, it's your brothers from the Hopeful Elect, Brother Isaiah, Brother Danal, you know, Brother Obadiah, and Brother Azrael, whose name means God is my help, right? We'll be back on here tomorrow. The Brother Danal will be on here with a lesson. You know, then we'll be back on here Wednesday following up with the Brother Obadiah, right? So Most High will, you are edified in this lesson. You know, again, all praise, glory, and honor be to the Most High God and Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Shalom to all the people who tuned in live. Shalom to those who will tune in after this live. But Con, man, hey, remember that, look, just because it doesn't happen to you doesn't mean it don't exist, right? Doesn't mean it does not exist. So keep that in mind. But till next time, saints, shalom.
Shalom.